Hi, today I want to work on a little feature here in tools. I'm implementing tools right now, and in the side of this app I have the side menu with the pop-up. I have a couple of different options here, and that last option is not functional yet, so it's not connecting to anything. So in this session what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna connect that to a story. I want to do the same thing, so I want to connect it to a bigger pop-up, and so for that to work I'm gonna have to add that content in the first place, and then I'm gonna connect this with the onClickId prop. So let's go into the app. Let's go into the tools. This is in tools. In apps we have the add story. Within that we have now and content pattern that allows us to not to show the pop-up and then to show the pop-up, show the content of the pop-up. Inside of the content we have these three buttons. As you can see, they reflect the what's in the pop-up. So as you can see, this content of this view reflects this button, so whatever is here, it's going to be shown here together with the path, and that path leads to new app create in the docs, in the content, in the cheat sheet. There's the path to that story that shows when I click create new. That's the story. So I would have to add the story for this button to be linked to. Right now it's linked to nothing, and if I would want to put the path into the import sample button, it should go to the same story. Well, it will not go to the same story because it doesn't have important function here in the onClick. Right now the onClick is just a generic onClick. It passes the onClick to the logic file without any function. So what we need to do is to set the flow function on the onClick, and then the onClickId will be respected, and the flow will be set to that story that onClickId pointing to. So right now the import sample button app will go to create new app, but obviously this is not what we want. What we want is to go to import sample story, and actually I guess I will change it to maybe use sample, because we are not going to be importing that app into this app. So we're gonna use sample. I'm split on these labels. So let's do that. So here in the docs, let's point it to use sample app. And now as we leave it like that, that story doesn't exist yet. So what we're gonna get? We're gonna get an error that it's gonna tell us that the story doesn't exist, and that's obviously not good. So what we need to do is, before clicking on it, we need to go to that path where we want it to be. So I keep them all in one folder, which is the cheat sheet folder. That's what I've started adding them as the docs. So this is my path to it. In the content, in here, I'm keeping them all here. So here we're gonna add a new story. Now this doesn't work yet, so you will be able to add the story from here. Right now what I need to do is to go to a code editor, and you can do that in the code editor as well. You can do code use. We need to name it the same as we named the link. So we did use sample app. It's going to be a view, and it's going to be a story, so we need to specify a flow, and we're gonna go flow together for that, together, and then we're gonna do just for now we're just gonna do text, and text hey, and then we're gonna save it as, so now we need to save it into, okay, we got in the right app. Let's go to stories, app, tools, bottom bar, cheat sheet, content, and So docs use sample app.view. Yep. Okay. So now that exists right now in the folder, and now when we click it, it's gonna go to the cheat sheet for some reason. Let's see. Let's go back to the. So right now we should have this. Yeah. Okay. So this is something that I'm getting bogged down every single time when I'm adding stories with editor, and that's for the developers who are not using tools. That will hit you sometimes. When I've added a story, that story is still not here. It does exist. It has been morphed, but it's not being used. So what we need to do is, in the content, it has to be used. So in the blocks of that parent story that this new story is being used within, we need to add that. We need to add that story to be used. Otherwise, if it's not used, it's as if it would be not there. So right now, if we sync it, well, it should be here. Oh yeah, okay. I think it's gonna be here if I just use sample app. So right now we have it here, and right now we should be able to connect to it. Use sample app. Yep. Okay, now the text is dark. Okay, that's my mistake. Let's go color white, and that will show us the text. So we have a pop-up. So now we have a place where to go to, and yeah, it's okay. But what we probably want to do is to get the structure of the other pop-up to be used over here as well, which means that we could reuse probably all of that stuff. So I'm just gonna grab that, copy it here, put it over here, and yeah, and of course we could extract that as a header, as a common header, stuff like that. I just tend to do this. Okay, and here we have use sample app. So that will be used over here, and we're gonna get the buttons, and then we're gonna get some sort of content. So that if we're gonna go here now, we should see the header, and we have a connection to docs, which is the flow that I've made initially. So right now we have all these buttons connected. They all functional, and we've added the stories. We've added a new story. We've connected that story with the specific button. We've connected that story to that specific button. We've used the set flow on the onClick to make sure that this flow will be set to this one, to this path. And yeah, and that feature is done. Obviously now I need to provide a bit more content about it, but that's really it. Yeah.